I typed in my date of birth instead of 1982 being 1093.
1903.
She's a centenarian.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I look good. I'm Asian, right? The genes are
The canvas
the
is
genes
great.
are gening today. You know, thanks, Mum.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life Uncut. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Keisha.
And today we are speaking to the first female judge ever on Masterchef Australia, Melissa Leong. And you're looking at me strangely. I hope that's right, is it?
No.
Okay,
you're
great.
good.
Okay, let me
I'm
continue.
just nodding along.
She burst onto our screens back in 2020, and I think for many Australians, but me in particular, made us fall in love with food and cooking because, spoiler, Melissa, I am the worst cook and I detest it. Like, if I can throw a dino nugget in the air fryer, I'm laughing. I think it's brilliant.
I'm seeing Melissa's face like, what is a dino nugget? That is a chicken nugget in the shape of a dinosaur.
Okay, wonderful.
Brittany's 38.
Wonderful. Look, there should always be room in life for nugs.
Oh, thank you. And why not make them
Great.
fun?
And why not make them dinosaur shaped? Because you can. Like it's
Her new memoir, Guts, is a raw, funny, very beautifully written look at her upbringing in a Singaporean Chinese family. And correct me if I'm wrong again, but you grew up in Sydney in the Shire, which
I did.
it's an area of Sydney down south, beautiful area. But you share a lot, Melissa, in your book, Guts, about your upbringing and a lot of behind-the-scenes reality TV. But I think something that was really interesting is you talk about a lot of really hard things and some hard conversations about your childhood and some things that you experienced as an adult that I don't think you had shared before and we haven't heard before. And
no, lots of brand new things.
yeah, lots of brand new things. And we're going to have some of those hard conversations today as well. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before we get into the more serious, hard conversations, we ask all of our guests to share their most embarrassing story. We feel it humbles everyone. It kind of puts us in a safe place altogether.
How safe do you want to feel?
What is your accidentally unfiltered?
Well, speaking of not being able to cook, when I think I would have been about 8 or 9 years old, I was even obsessed with food shows then. And I remember watching this show and it was about, cooking pasta. And I was like, okay, I want to cook pasta. And my mum was a nurse. And so she had done a lot of night shift work when I was a kid, just so that there could be somebody at home with us. So she was asleep at the time I was watching. It was school holidays. I was at home watching TV. And I thought, okay, this is great. Well, we have dried pasta in the cupboard. And I think I can just rustle up some pasta, no recipe, of course, just a vibe, a
just
feeling.
feel it, yeah.
I wanted a beautiful, rich tomato-based pasta. The sauce just coats the noodles and just makes that pasta just so, so glorious and rich and velvety. And, that's what I wanted. I was like, I can do this. And so I started this recipe off with hot water in a pan with raw onion, beef stock, chopped tomatoes. And I just expected this thing to amalgamate into this rich, coating, aromatic tomatoes.
You made onion and tomato soup.
I made, and I
Sounds
bought
better than anything I've ever made.
because we grew up in the era of jarred sauces, right? So I knew how to boil pasta. At 8 years old, I knew how to boil pasta. That's fine. I knew how to cook to al dente, no problem. But then I also knew how to open a jar of, creamy pesto sauce and stir it through. But in terms of making a sauce, like the art that goes into making a truly beautiful pasta sauce. No, I didn't have that down at 8.
I think some people are just born with like an innate desire to want to cook. And I think people say all the time, like anyone can learn to cook. And of course anyone can follow a recipe, but that doesn't mean you're cooking in a way. And I say that because I can follow a recipe. It's still never, I'm not even joking, it still never tastes good. It never turns out well. I don't know what I do, but I think it's because I don't have the passion for it. And I cannot understand why anyone would want to spend hours marinating and cooking and doing all of these beautiful things for it to be eaten in 3 seconds. Like to me, I don't understand it.
You're not one for the ephemeral arts of food.
I'll eat them.
You like to eat it, but not to cook. See, for me, there's something really calming and meditative about preparing food. So it's artistry in motion. I'm thinking about things as I'm moving around, the aromas, like all of the sensory elements of cooking and preparing food kind of gives me joy. And I think that's what it is, right? It's like if it doesn't give you joy, then the end product doesn't contain that joy and that love because it's not your thing. And it's okay for it to not be your thing. I mean, you put love and joy and attention into your work and the other things that you do, and the results speak for themselves. So I think it's just that thing of finding whatever lights you up and fills your cup and it happens to be food for me.
Yeah.
Even though, we've all had kitchen fuck-ups from time to time.
I actually love that. I've never heard cooking being spoken about like that.
So
and
passionately.
Britt and I both have partners who are exactly those people who find so much joy and pleasure out of food and cooking. I think that our problem is actually patience. I think you and I don't have the patience to
Can't be
let
bothered.
things take as long as they're supposed to.
But it's complementary. If you have a partner that loves to cook and that's a really good symbiotic relationship for you, then
I don't
great.
I don't actually like my husband. I just wanted someone to cook for me. And he ticks the
afford a
box.
full-time chef.
Is that what I've been doing wrong? You don't have to like them.
No, that's overrated. They've got to bring skills.
That is gold.
Melissa, you grew up in, by your own words, quite a disciplinarian, authoritarian
Yes.
family, the daughter of migrant parents.
Yeah.
And there was a quote that your mum wrote in Guts, in a blurb. I'm still not sure what Melissa does for work, but her brother has just graduated as a doctor. So now whatever she does is okay with me. What does that
She doesn't know I
mean?
wrote that.
She probably does now.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
But this actually spans across different families. I mean,
Yeah.
my family, in anything in the creative industries, I think there's always been a whole lot of, we don't really get it.
Totally.
She
Yeah.
talks.
You're like, what is
Somehow
what is it
some
that
people
yeah.
listen.
Exactly. No, look, it's a joke, but it's something that I think a lot of families can relate to, especially when they have quite traditional expectations of who you're going to end up being. And thank God my brother's a doctor, because then
Took the pressure off.
took the pressure off, took him a minute, but he's a doctor now, so that's wonderful. And so now I can continue being like the unhinged mess in the corner.
That no one knows what she
no one
does.
quite knows what she does. But I think when it became like TV was a really big crystallizing moment for them, because it's like such a marquee, obvious sign of what I do for work, because you can watch it. Whereas I guess for me, I'm a writer, so my byline is the most important thing. And so I care very deeply about the way I communicate in the written form. But for other people, especially for family that don't quite get it, TV was really the first time they went, oh.
It was more tangible.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an obvious piece of evidence for, I guess,
Success in a way, isn't it?
indication of success in your career. Yeah.
Did you feel those pressures growing up?
Yeah, I did. I think I felt the pressure to find a safe job. And so the expectation was, I think the joke about, doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer, something like that, something that's consistent and, well-trodden boards, I like to say. Like it's a path that a lot of people take, and it's great if that's the thing that you love to do. But feeling the pressure to find the safe job didn't quite sit well with me from the very beginning. I knew that you get that careers guidebook when you're in, towards the end of high school. And
We're
I
showing
remember,
our age now. I don't reckon kids get that anymore.
no, God, it was
Probably
like
an email.
It was like a phone book, right? And now there are kids out there going, "What's a phone book?" I'm like, oh,
100%.
but it was just this gigantic book of descriptions on jobs I didn't want. And I thought, well, what if I can't pick one out of the hundreds of jobs listed here? What if I don't want one of those? And so that became the beginning of, I guess, finding my own path into career and work. And yeah, it's been very, very piecemeal. There's been no textbook way to get there. But
I read some things just about how strict your parents were, and I don't want to put words in your mouth on how you label it, but you grew up in a house as a child that was quite violent.
Yeah, it was a really strict upbringing. And I suppose for a lot of people out there listening, anyone who's grown up as the child of migrants or, part of a migrant family, there's a level of discipline and, culturally it's different for everybody, but I have a lot of friends from the Latin world that joke about throwing sandals. For me it was the feather duster and the chopsticks over the fingers when I would make mistakes practicing the piano and stuff like that. But it was a very highly disciplined existence as a child. The expectations were that we didn't have sort of chores, so to speak, but the expectation was that our full-time job was to excel at everything that we did. So whether or not that was piano, academics, sport, anything that we applied ourselves, we had to give the very best. And so there's a level of, I guess, fear-based parenting that happened in the 80s. And, I don't want to I'm not claiming this as being something that only happened in Chinese families. It happened to so many of my friends with cultural backgrounds from all over the world. I think for me the difference, and you said violence, and violence is such a visceral, it's such a strong word. But I think for me, the way that I've consolidated it as an adult is that, yes, I'm somewhat grateful for the high degree of discipline I grew up with, because it's given me a work ethic like no other. But I think for me, the reason why I'm no contact with my dad is that he, even as a child, the gut instinct was that there was just a level of relishing the discipline, relishing doling it out, that I felt even as a child that I can't make peace with. And he's not sorry, because he said, this is just the way I was taught to be. This is what I got growing up. And that's fine. But for me, and partially why I've chosen, not to have children and things like that, is because I want to break the cycle of that. It wasn't good for me emotionally. I didn't feel safe growing up. And now that I've done, a ton of therapy since then, probably a lot of the choices I've made in my life have been to try and create the safety I didn't have as a kid, that emotional safety of being able to go to a parent and say, hey, I fucked up. I need some help. I could never have done that as a kid.
Instead of being petrified.
Instead of being terrified.
So was it enough for you as a child, when you say they wanted you to be the best at everything, was it enough for you to try your best?
Oh,
or did you have to be the best?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It wasn't, there were no prizes for turning up. It was about doing the things that you were excellent at.
And when you say, and I find this a really fascinating chat, because I'm 38 and we talk about this quite frequently in the last year or so, about this childless by choice and deciding if you want to have children. And I just am undecided, which is, I'm running out of time, and I hate saying that, but there's a biological clock.
Yep.
But when you say, this is why I chose to be childless, child-free, because I wanted to break the cycle, were there other parts that come into that decision? And I say that because you could have had children and broken the cycle, because you were going to never relive that. You'll never be the person that your parents were. So what else kind of came into this decision?
I won't say this is my hardline choice. I've never wanted to have children because I want to be a cycle breaker or anything like that. I sort of said to myself, if I met the right person at the right time in my life and children became a part of that equation, great. I love kids. There are maternal qualities that I have within myself. But I think in terms of, my mum, around when I was about 30, my mum said, hey, do you want to consider freezing your eggs and things like that. And this is a conversation, and I'm so glad that we're having it more and more as women these days. But back when I was 30, which was 13 years ago, it was still considered a privileged choice, and it's very expensive. It's quite invasive.
It still is.
There's a lot going on there, and I think it's really nice that there are now being legislative conversations about supporting women to make those choices and to supplement, what it costs to get there. But I sort of thought to myself, well, let life be life. But the more and more I think about it, yes, I could have had children and maybe broken the cycle through showing, the next generation of kids
it's okay to try
a different way and to be. But I don't know. I just kind of thought I don't maybe trust myself to not perpetuate some of the things that I grew up with, because it's so instilled in us. And as much as I am, and I would like to think of myself as being a fairly self-aware person, we don't know the things that just kind of creep out at us. As we're growing up, we're fully fledged adults now. You do things that you go, oh, I didn't know where that came from.
But also you've got a father who's saying to you that he's not sorry for it because that's just how he was brought up, and that I think that would even subconsciously infiltrate you to go, okay, well, if I'm in that same environment, is that the only way that I'm able to respond?
Sure, absolutely.
Because that's been his reasoning for what happened.
Yeah. And so for me, and I'm very cognizant of the fact my dad's still alive, and I don't want to, be disrespectful about the way that I talk about being parented, because I'm very grateful in many ways for so much of the way that I grew up. They sacrificed a lot for me to have the opportunities I have. But I think as an adult now, making the choices, having the conversations that maybe we haven't had in public, in past years, I want to be part of those conversations, that maybe we can take some of those things out of the dark, bring them into the light, and destigmatize the complexities of interpersonal relationships between generations and between cultures and each other.
Did it take you a little while to kind of come to peace with that decision, and even to the point where you might have come to peace with it personally, but before you spoke about that with other people?
Yeah, I think I had to come to peace with it on my own before I could have a conversation about it because I needed to know how I felt.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard topic of conversation and I'm aware that people are going, oh my God, this memoir is going to be so fucking dark. Look,
It's really not.
I would like to think it's really hopeful as well as being full of real conversations about different experiences we all go through as women, as Australians, as people in this world. I'm not unique in any way. It's just my life is a configuration of experiences I've had. And if we can share those conversations, if we can have intelligent conversations about some of the harder stuff and then we feel a little less alone, or maybe we spark a conversation that's been needing to be had, then I feel like that's a success for me in putting myself out there.
How long since you've spoken to your dad?
It would have been years at this point, yeah. If any information needs to be exchanged, it's done through my mum. And, I speak to my mum almost every day.
Are your parents together?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're still together.
So that's an unusual dynamic to have. Not that you've cut him off, I guess. There's still some communication through your mum. But for them, you would think that usually a situation like that, maybe your parents aren't together anymore. So feeding the information through a couple that's still together seems like a very particular dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it works however it works. Yeah. My mother lives in New South Wales. I live in Victoria. So a lot of our communication is over the phone. So it's not like I go to my parents' house and I just ignore my dad or something like that.
Lock him in the bedroom.
I haven't been to the family home in a very long time. And my mum, I usually fly my mum out to wherever I am, or she comes to stay with me, and that's how we spend time together. So, it's fine. And my brother lives in Queensland, so we text and we might speak over the phone. But
Have you ever teetered in your brain and your own decision about having kids, or have you had a really confident, stable decision this entire time? Like you made it to be child free and that was it?
No.
Asking for a friend, Britters.
No, I
just asking for myself. No, I think
okay.
I think it's really interesting.
No, I've never been hardline about it. Say, no, I'm never going to have kids. I have always been of the belief that we just let life happen. And if that's on the cards, then that's on the cards. But coming back to, we were talking about IVF before, we were talking about freezing your eggs. The reason why I didn't end up freezing my eggs in the end is because I thought I just want to leave it up to chance. And so if it happens, I'm with the right partner at the right time and I can do it, then it'll happen. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And I'm just going to leave that one up to the universe. And so it's just been the way that it is. At 43, I don't have, I'm not really harbouring the desire to be a parent at this age. But I guess if I wanted to, I could. There are still options available in other ways, and that's really wonderful. So, but yeah, for me, I'm at peace with where I am in terms of my life and the way that I'm living it. And I think that it's a unique choice for everybody. As long as you're good with where you're at, then more power to you.
I think you're very right, though, that when your mum asked you that question about freezing eggs 13 years ago, there was a lot more stigma about women who didn't want to have children or perhaps wanted to focus more on other things like their careers and that kind of thing.
And it was considered selfish.
Totally. The amount of words, selfish, self-indulgent, you were obsessed with yourself, you were too determined, there'd been too much of a push towards feminism. And
also just that's what we're on the earth to do.
Yeah, completely.
And the question of don't you want to experience the fullest extent of being a woman? I'm like,
no, it's the, what it is for me? No.
I'm sorry?
It's the who's going to look after you when you're older. That's the having children does not guarantee that someone is going to want to look after you when you're older.
That's why Britt got a younger man who can cook.
Totally. I love this.
Yeah, it was
How
smart.
many years younger?
He's only 5 years younger. But my ex before him was 7 years younger.
But there's a cook.
And cooks, I'm just like, I'm writing a mental list.
He's a unicorn.
Fantastic. Well, we love the unicorns. It's nice to know that they exist.
Yeah.
Are
you talking about your relationship, love life? Are you off the market?
No, I'm not off the market.
Okay.
I am market. Ew.
I know. I actually gave myself a fucking ick. When you say something and I was like, you know what? Doing that again.
Yeah. Next up, lot number 54, Melissa Leong, 43 years old. Does all right for herself. Homeowner, loves cats.
Can cook onion soup.
And can cook onion soup.
Yeah, what's the love like? Like, what's dating like been
Non-existent.
What has dating life been like for you?
Dating life has been non-existent.
Is that by choice?
That's mostly by choice because all the memes about just someone knocking on the door and just being like, "Hi, I'm here. I'm your soulmate."
Yeah.
I fell on your lap.
The house.
Yeah.
Like I'm working or I'm at home trying to recover from working. I have a tremendously close group of friends that I want for nothing when it comes to emotional care. I have a great therapist. I earn my own money. I own my own home. I'm independent in every single way, which isn't to say that I'm not open to opening my life up and leaning on someone. I want to lean on someone, but I need to know that you can
hold me up.
Hold me up.
And hold yourself.
And
I'm not going to be there to be your emotional carrier.
It's that A-frame thing, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be able to lean on each other. And my past is I've not made the smartest of choices and I have not been held up. And so if I know I can hold myself up, then why would I relinquish that for anything less than a unicorn?
It definitely changes, I think, when you get a little bit older too. You realise that your time is such a hot commodity. It's like the most important commodity. And you just don't want it. It gets to a point where, like, I think when you're a bit younger, you're a bit more lenient with breaking boundaries and letting people in that probably shouldn't be because you're like, well, I've got nothing to lose and why not? And I'm young and I haven't learned, I haven't lived yet. And you get a bit older and you realise, you know what, I don't have time for it and I don't need
the bad boy.
100%. The red flag, so hot.
Tattoos, amazing. No.
Sociopath,
inconsistency.
He's really confident. Narcissist. You just
sociopath.
Melissa, you're in good company.
You know what I mean? Like we do give people the benefit of a doubt. I think also as women we give people the benefit of a doubt more than they probably deserve as well. And I don't want to ever be that closed off person that won't trust anybody. I do believe that humanity is about connection and I want to always leave myself open to that. I'm a hopeless romantic in that regard in terms of friendships, relationships, the way that we build communities together I think is so important. But yeah, I'm becoming more discerning about the people that I let into my life and the apps suck. I don't know if and or when you were ever on them.
I met my husband on an app. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
But he was supposed to be my first ever one night stand. We were supposed to bang and then get out of there.
Oh,
I was supposed to never see him again.
Yeah.
And I married him.
Oh my God.
So it's like, it's not all bad.
I love
my
that.
sister
Can
got
you see
married off Tinder as well.
The Daily Mail headline now. I just banged my one night stand. Now he's my husband.
It is. It was like the first time I ever in all of my dating history. I was single for about 10 years, but he was the first time where I genuinely did not care.
Yeah.
Like the first person.
You wanted to just live a little, throw caution to the wind, have a little bit of fun. That is that is our right and our choice to get to have fun like that.
But the apps I think the apps get a bad rap. They are bad. They are terrible.
My friend made me do it for I was on there for maybe a week. No.
Go on Raya.
No. I did that one time before I was married and that was not good. Yeah, it was very this is my CV. They're very who are you and what do you do?
We actually spoke recently about the fact that apparently people are using LinkedIn almost as a dating app
I don't
now.
have a LinkedIn.
No, I don't either. I mean, I'm also married, so.
Yeah.
This is that sounds like more homework.
No, but my friend had a really great experience with it. She's met the love of her life on there and she said, look, give it a try. So we had over lunch, she took my phone, she downloaded the app, we put it on there and, went through it and I am out of I didn't know which way to swipe.
Oh, so you said yes to everyone.
So I said yes to this and it was a guy who worked in the food industry, he was a winemaker or something and immediately he messaged me. So I deleted the whole app out of mortification.
Oh, you just panicked?
I panicked, deleted it. I didn't know what to do. And
So
then I was like, oh no.
I think if we unpack this, when you say the apps are terrible, I don't think it's the app's fault.
No, but
user error.
I re-downloaded it and I committed to 10 minutes a day. I said 10 minutes a day, approve 3. Just say yes to 3, just to give it a go, just to get into the practice of it. But I mean, look, I'll show you. I've got a little gallery of some of the creme de la creme of what I found. When you set the parameters the way that I did, I don't know what I did wrong, but
have you been on a date ever on off
never.
the app?
No, I haven't. I've chatted to a few people, but it hasn't never.
First
I don't know, chemistry-wise, if I'm a writer, this should be my jam, but I have no riz when it comes to talking.
But I think that probably is the reason, because you are so articulate. It's hard to get that back from other people using an app. You know, like it's got to be a two-way street.
It's hard to respond to you up.
You are. You're like, what is it? W-Y, like what?
What
W-Y-D, what you
yeah.
doing? I'm just like, fuck, really?
Dude, I had to Google that. I'm not joking. I Googled that one day. I was like, what are people saying to me?
I had to look up on the app what ENM means.
Ethical non-monogamy.
How? I didn't know that.
Brittany, you have a dating and relationships podcast.
Every single person has ENM on their thing. I'm just like, do you just want to fuck and be in a relationship?
Yeah.
And you want
does your partner know that you're in?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know about the ethic.
Yeah,
Who knows? Who knows?
It's a different world now, isn't it?
Yeah. So I had to Google that because I was like, oh, that's new since I was last single.
Well, Melissa, speaking of, the last time that you were single, what were some of the considerations you had being someone who is in the public eye? You know, a lot of people are interested in your life.
I wasn't,
That's what I mean about, your marriage ending. What was your thought process of like how much you wanted to share about that and how much you wanted to keep private?
I wanted to keep as much of it private as possible because, breakups suck no matter who you are and how public your life happens to be.
Yeah.
And so when you have to then, consciously uncouple or whatever it happens to be, when you have to separate in public, it sucks.
Yeah.
And so I was given a little bit of advice from people in the industry about how to do it. Apparently if you're going to announce it, move first.
Yes.
So that people don't follow you to your new place because I had a issue with privacy and photographers and yada yada because they want to know who you're dating next, so they want to sit outside your house, which is just so wonderful as a single woman to
really
have.
makes you feel secure at home.
Super secure. But at least you have proof that you're being stalked, so there's that.
Still means nothing.
Yeah, so that, but you announce it apparently if you are going to announce it publicly, which I recommend because you get to say it on your terms.
Yeah.
You do it at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night because that way you miss all the weekend gossip.
The news cycle starts again.
The news cycle starts again, and so you'll get some online pickup, but you won't get the printed press.
How ridiculous that you have to think of it to that detail.
Yeah, I learned that one from, I won't name him, but yeah.
Did it work?
It did. It was good. We minimised it as much as possible, and so there you go. That's how the sausage is made.
This is really the behind the scenes.
But all jokes aside, because, no one wants to hear about, like, my problems with privacy because, that's boring. It sucks for everybody. You're going through this huge transition of the next phase of your life. You're battling with feelings of unfound, mind you, feelings of failure because it's not necessarily about that. Relationships end. They're allowed to end. Friendships can end. They're allowed to end as well. But you want to be able to go through that as gently as possible, and to do that publicly, not so nice, but to do it in general, also not so nice. So
you also mourn the loss of what you imagined, this romantic fairy tale that you envisioned for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And that even if you are fully connected to the breakup and it's everything that you wanted as well and it's amicable, it doesn't mean you don't mourn the things that you had set out to do with that person and that life you had set out to create.
Exactly. And it's a recalibration of how you live your life now, like moving house and establishing a whole new way of doing things. And it's all par for the course. And I think that you need to go gently through that experience. But yeah, my life now is very different to what it was before MasterChef happened and before TV happened at all. And do I need to do things a little bit differently? Probably.
But for who? Do you need to do things differently? If it works for you and it brings you satisfaction out of your life, then I would probably say, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, if you're enjoying that and you're getting satisfaction out of your career and different projects you're able to work on.
I mean, I love that. Like for me, I've been gifted the most diverse, interesting, complex career. And I love my work. I love all of the bits and pieces that I get to call work in my life, like sitting here with you, having a really frank and open conversation. Delightful, utterly delightful. So I'm not sorry for making the choices to end up having the kind of job that allows me to have these wonderful opportunities to meet people and have interesting, nuanced conversations. But there's a trade-off there. There always has to be. Everything has a price.
Yeah.
And so, I have friends with teenage kids now, and which is utterly terrifying to think of.
I do too,
it's
yes.
terrifying. But when all kids go through that thing of, gosh, I wish I was famous, And I have to have that conversation with them to say, if you're really good at something and you end up in that space, that's great. But if you have no purpose
and you just
in
want
it,
to be blanket statement famous,
you're going to float around being deeply unhappy because there's nothing anchoring you to this spotlight. And it goes quickly, right? It comes and it goes really quickly. It's a very, fickle state of being. So if you're not there with passion and purpose, you will get lost. I mean, the likelihood is that you will get lost.
So how did you become famous? How did you find yourself, because it wasn't a linear path, on our TV screens as a MasterChef judge?
Well, I mean, it started with food writing. So I was a restaurant critic, food journalist and travel journalist as well for a number of years.
You also had experiences in pre-production before that, didn't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I've had this non-linear path, and it's because I've had a series of jobs, and each of those jobs has given me a tremendous gift. So I've worked, even from high school, I went to a media-based high school. So we were attached to SBS, and there was a television show that was produced by the students, front of camera, back of camera, teaching you how to edit, all of that. And so I was privy to that stuff from the get-go, which was really fun. So I was already aware of, partially how the sausage is made to some degree. And then I ended up in advertising. I was a makeup artist. While I was at uni, I was working for Clinique and MAC and Mecca Cosmetica and stuff like that. So all of these things, my parents are like scratching their head going, what is going on?
When's she going to
come?
Your
brother's going to med school.
So all good, so fine. But, I found myself in the Red Centre filming a TV show a couple of months ago, and there's no hair and makeup artist attached to a production like that. There's no stylist. If you don't know how to put yourself together, then they're going to film you as you are. And so I'm really glad that I know how to, put together an outfit, make myself look presentable and then go and do the thing. And had I have not done those earlier jobs in makeup and, I used to do hair and makeup for like music videos and ads and things like that. If I didn't have any of that background, I would probably be a bit more at sea with presentation side of things, being able to advocate for how I want to look and how I want to be presented now. If I didn't have the experience earlier, I wouldn't have the vocabulary or the courage to be able to speak up for myself now. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was on assignment in Vietnam when I got the call about Masterchef, and I just arrived and I was about to get on a boat and sail down the Mekong Delta to Cambodia. And all of these emails and these missed calls and text messages and things had come through. And I didn't know what was going on. I was very discombobulated because I'd filled out my visa wrong. I'd done it in a hurry.
I feel like I'm being deported.
I'd, in a hurry, typed in my date of birth instead of 1982 being 1093.
1903.
The year's 1093.
She's a centenarian.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I look good. I'm Asian. Like the genes are
the canvas
the genes
is great.
are gening today. Thanks, Mum. No, but so they got me on a technicality, and basically I had to pay a bribe to get in. So I was dealing with that while my photographer was already cleared immigration, was waiting for me, and there's a bus waiting for us to go to the port to get on the boat and all of the rest of it. So I was stressing about that, and then there's all of these. We'd like to come and see you. I'm just like, I'm not even in the country, and so I ended up after that assignment, a couple of weeks later, I went in to have the meeting, and I had already gone in there with my mind made up that I would say I'd think about it. I wasn't going to say yes immediately.
Why was that? Was that like a make them think they don't have you yet, or was it
No,
genuinely
It was genuinely from a journalistic point of view, like it's our job to be skeptical about things. And so I had seen the former 3 judges had gone through that tremendously steep trajectory when it comes from, hey, we're going to do this beautiful show about food, to their private lives being, really put out there and a whole lot of things. So I knew there was the potential that might happen to me. And as a private person, as someone who at that point regarded their anonymity as a journalist as a covetable thing, I knew that I'd have to be a different kind of writer if I said yes to this. I knew I'd have to conduct myself a little bit, differently or a bit more consciously. And so I sort of thought, do I want that? Do I want that? And they, of course, I walked in there and they just assumed I would just, kiss
Throw
the ground
yourself at it.
that they were walking on it. And, to some extent, obviously tremendous respect for them creating this incredible show and what an honour to be considered. But I didn't want to throw myself into a situation without asking all the questions and thinking about things really, really deeply. So, I was given all the information and I went, thanks very much. I'm gonna have a think about this. And I said, I know what I bring to the table. And they said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, I look like this, as in Chinese, but I sound white. And that's really palatable for you because you're a primetime television show on a major network and you can't scare the horses.
And I'm a female.
And I'm a female, so I'm checking a whole bunch of boxes for you. And I can, shock horror, do the job.
Was there a part of you that in any capacity, even though you know your worth and what you're bringing, that thought, okay, am I a diversity hire to them or do they see through this?
Of course I thought that. Yeah. Of course I thought that as well. Like that's why I said I know what you get when you get me.
I know
I love that you're aware of that before though, because so many people would see the opportunity and be wowed by it without having the considerations of this is going to come with the pressures of having to face misogyny, having to face racism from the Australian public.
Yeah. And from tabloid media as well. We know we know how they love to treat women in
don't we ever?
We love it, don't we? It's so great. I mean it's a bed of roses every day, isn't it?
It's wonderful, yeah. I'm always showing someone, an ex, what they're missing.
Showing off different things at all different times.
Showing off. I remember once I cut my hair. Like I used to have quite long hair when I started my career and then I cut it off for expediency. I just didn't want to be in the makeup chair for that long, to be frank with you. I didn't even check the contract. I probably should have. But I was literally just shopping and there was Melissa flaunts her new hairstyle.
It's the word choice.
It's just how am I doing that again?
You're like, you followed me.
By existing.
I'm not flaunting it. You followed me.
I've got like my shopping
They were out the
bags.
front of your house waiting for you to come out and flaunt your new hairstyle.
Flaunt.
How was it? Like, how did you experience that though? Did you experience certain levels of misogyny and racism when you started that job?
Absolutely.
Stupid question. Of course you did.
Honestly, I think on the first because you have tech rehearsal and, all sorts of different things before you actually start a filming day right at the beginning of a production. And I think maybe it was the first week for sure. It might have been like the second or third day of filming. One of the tabloids came out with some rumours about her. She's been on set for 5 minutes and she's already being a diva. And everyone was just giggling because, like, I'd literally just been, like, offering everybody in the crew lollies and I just, like, becoming obsessed. I asked for a cruise sheet with everybody's photos, names and titles so I could memorise everybody's names as quickly as possible.
Very diva behaviour.
Because I don't want to do the whole, hi, how you doing? Oh, hey, bro. Like, I want to know who you are and what you do in the scheme of the production because we're probably going to be we are going to be spending hundreds of hours together. So, yeah, but the whole, she's a diva, I'm like, I haven't even worn in these shoes yet and I'm getting this. And it's one of many things. You're either going to be a diva, you're going to be a slut maybe.
You're going to be difficult.
You're going to be difficult. What is
Every
it going to be?
woman is difficult, quote unquote, on TV.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just what we're branded with.
But also, God forbid you should advocate for your own comfort and your own best interests. God forbid you should do that. Because if you speak up, then, you get tarred and feathered with being difficult. And I remember Katherine Heigl, there's a very famous interview that she gives about that, and she just sits in her own power and says, I will not apologise for having boundaries. And if you think I'm difficult because of that, well, then I'm not going to correct your narrative, but I'm also not going to lower my boundaries in order to make you feel more comfortable that you can manipulate me.
Do you know if there were, and you don't have to answer this, but do you know if there was any kind of pay disparity between you and the males?
We never discussed it.
Yeah.
We never discussed it, and I felt that was
respectful.
Just the best way forward with those kinds of conversations. And money's a tough one. Money's another stigma conversation that, let you guys decide what you think about that for yourselves. But for me, being, again, culturally quite private, these were not discussions that I necessarily wanted to have. And I thought, you know what, if I'm happy with the money I'm being offered to do the job and I'm happy to turn up to work every day and feel like that's right for me, then far be it for me to, discuss it with other people and maybe feel like I'm missing out on something if I'm not, but I wasn't the big star walking into that, so
you are now.
I can only assume.
I pretty quickly became the big star.
Yeah. It was that was weird. A weird.
Sorry,
trajectory.
Make you uncomfortable.
I do. I still find it super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in an ensemble cast, because you're a group, so your success, you rise and you fall together. So that's always the way that I see it, is when you're in a group scenario in terms of television ensemble work, you are as good as the worst and best. Like you all contribute something. So I found it very difficult and still find it really difficult when people go, oh my God, you're the breakout star. It's like, no, I'm part of it. A wonderful group of people. We worked really well together and I'm so grateful for that. But to be singled out, I struggled with it a little bit. And maybe I'm getting a little bit better at just owning who I am and being all right with my contribution. But I do struggle with that comparative, being singled out as part of a group.
I found reading your book this contrast between private and how much you were willing to share really generous. I think the way that you spoke, it was so frank in some areas. And I just want to put a little bit of a content warning for anyone listening right now. We are about to discuss sexual assault. So if that's something that's a little bit hard for you, it might be worth your while skipping ahead. But there was a particular line that really, really hit me in the heart. You'd spoken about coming to terms with the fact that an experience you had had a couple of years beforehand was not in fact sexual assault, it was rape, and you had labelled it as such, but it had taken you quite a while to get there. And this is what you wrote. You said, I felt so ashamed by choices I'd made that I felt had landed me in the position to have had that happen to me. And I think that this is something that every survivor experiences. Everyone thinks about, well, what did I do that led me to be in that position? And whether that's a survival mechanism, whether that's to ensure that you're trying to protect yourself from it happening again.
Sure.
But I think that inevitably when we do that, we actually take on some of the ownership.
Yeah.
When we have nothing to be accountable for in that scenario.
Absolutely.
How did you come to terms with that?
I did the very unhealthy thing of repressing it for many years. I didn't talk about it. I did that thing where I was like, okay, it must have been my fault, that I allowed this set of circumstances to happen, or I had some say or some agency over the environment that allowed that to happen to me. And I was so embarrassed by it. It was like such an awful thing that I put it in a neat little box. I locked the box. I stuffed it way back in the recesses of my heart and my soul, and I forgot about it. I really did a very good job of disassociating from that particular experience, so much so that I would have conversations with friends who have gone through some really horrible things, and I would never identify on that level with them. I would think, I'm here for you. I'm an ally. I'm deeply supportive, and I'm so sorry this happened to you. And it just didn't click up until about 2 years ago when I really started writing the book, and I attended a Marie Claire International Women's Day event, and I spoke, and I thought, oh, this will just be an easy lunch. What an honour to speak about my career in front of this tremendous group of women who have all done and achieved some incredible things. And Tanya Plibersek and her daughter Anya Coates-Trotter, who is the co-creator or the co-founder of Survivor Hub, spoke about Anna's experience in her teen years, and it broke the dam. It broke the dam, and everything came bubbling up to the surface. And I felt the inability to hold it back anymore, and I had to face it. I really had to face it, and I was never planning on writing about it. I thought, well, a memoir is a collection of your memories. They don't have to be every memory you've had. I mean, otherwise, that'd be a much longer book. But I wasn't planning on writing about this particular thing or sharing that particular revelation. But I reached a point through therapy and through processing this where it's not my shame. I didn't do this to myself. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. I made it clear. And it happened. And it's not my shame to bear. So I don't want to hold on to that. And I don't want it to impact the choices that I make.
I don't even want to, I hate that I was about to say this. I was like, it's really brave of you to talk about it, but it shouldn't be brave.
It shouldn't.
But this is the problem, right? It's that the shame that we feel as women and the two feelings that come regarding sexual assault and rape from every woman that speaks about it is embarrassment and shame.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed it happened.
Yeah.
And this is not just necessarily like the shame comes from society, years of society telling us that it's our fault.
Yeah.
This is why. So it's this innate feeling.
What did she wear? You know, why did she put herself in that?
Why were you drinking?
Yeah. Why did you go back to the apartment if you didn't think that was going to happen?
Yeah, and this is where it stems from. It stems from society telling us it's consistently our fault and always protecting the perpetrator.
Yeah. And perpetrators benefit from that cloud of embarrassment, and it's a muddy space. And so they really take advantage of the ambiguity of certain things. I mean, when trauma happens to you, you disassociate. The brain is really good at protecting us. And so I have big chunks of memory loss in that particular period of my life because that's what brains do. They just segment off things that happen to you so that you don't have to feel them. And that helps us survive, but it doesn't help us heal necessarily.
Was it hard for you to open that can of worms within yourself?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You know, having that conversation with my therapist, and I'd started seeing her just before, when I signed on to Masterchef, I said, I want you to know me before the job.
Before you're a diva.
The job might change me. So you can, you can tell me I'm being a diva or I'm being difficult.
I'll believe you, not the Daily Mail.
Yeah. So, call Michelle. She knows all of it. But I wanted to have her know my baseline before the job stuff took over. And so I worked extensively with her to kind of just step myself through that whole, process of why the brain does what it does to protect us and how I need to process it in order to let it go. But I'm fucking tired of holding on to the embarrassment and the shame that is not mine to bear. And we need to have these conversations. And there's a lot that's going on in terms of conversations about what's going on in hospitality. And I'm aware that the dark side of hospitality, like, great headline for newspapers these days, but it happens in every single industry. But the amount of people that I know, in particular women, who know who these people are and have just never spoken up about it, and they continue to be friends because it gives them, the advantage of power or whatever it happens to be, it sickens me.
Do you know the person?
Yeah. This is somebody that I knew, and obviously the way that I've written the book, I don't name him, and I won't name him because that just becomes a whole other thing, and he doesn't get to have his profile raised because of an association with me. So he can go fuck himself.
Completely agree. There was another line in your book that I absolutely love for a very, very different reason. You actually compared happiness to a handbag. You wrote...
That was my Sex and the City moment.
Yeah. I believe in happiness and in feeling good, but I'm realizing that happiness might be far too fleeting a concept to hang your hat on. Maybe instead contentment is a more sustainable thing to strive for long term. I cannot tell you how deeply I resonated with this because in the last couple of years for myself, and I don't want to make this about myself, but I have really realized that happiness is a feeling that really comes and goes for me, and it's not reliable, and it's not something that I should be changing certain aspects of my life based upon.
Yeah, if we chase happiness, like pure happiness, you're setting yourself up for a life of disappointment because it is a moment in time. It comes and it goes, and I think it's best enjoyed when you can be present with it and enjoy feeling it arrive, observing it, and then watching it go, and knowing that it'll come around again. But you can't chase it. You have to be the thing that sits still in the center of your world, and you watch it come and you watch it go, and you celebrate it while it's in your life. But if you keep chasing it, then you change your whole world just for the happiness. It's just, you're going to chase your tail. It's never going to be good. But contentment is achievable. Setting your life up so that you are content, more or less every day. Like, bad things happen to us all of the time, and that's horrible, but that's life. Life doesn't guarantee us a sweet ride the entire time, but there are things we can do to feather our nests to make this life a little bit nicer for ourselves. But that's very different to happiness. And I think understanding the distinction between contentment and happiness was a big game changer for me in my 30s.
Most people I think now realize too that the bar moves for happiness. So you say, I just know when I get this amount of money, I'll be happy. And you're not. I know when I'm in a relationship, I'm just going to be happy. You get to the relationship and you're not. And you realize the bar keeps moving. And I think that circles back to why you can't be at the forefront of what you want out of life.
No.
I forgot to ask you how the handbag came into it.
Oh, yeah. How the handbag came. Oh, because I was talking about it bags. And so, an it bag being, the happiness. It's like you're going to get that instant hit and it's going to be lovely, but it's going to go away. The bag will still be a bag and you can use it, but you won't be as excited about it. But like an investment bag.
You can buy great fakes too.
Exactly.
And they make you pretty happy.
Yeah.
Looking at me for a reason.
It's a fleeting experience, but like investment things that are going to be with you for life, that are well made and going to hold your things for life. That to me equates to, the idea of contentment. And so, and I love handbags. So why not talk about fashion?
I do want to know, just for myself, you are like working and have hosted and you're doing interviews with the UFC, which is like ultimate fighting. What the fuck? Like, what is that connection? Because you don't scream UFC.
Oh, I love MMA.
Dude.
Love it. I do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And the big question, it's like veganism. It's like, how do you know someone does jiu-jitsu? They'll tell you.
They'll tell you.
They
Don't worry.
will tell you.
Do you know,
so.
I started jiu-jitsu purely for that. I was single.
Brit
I
wanted
was
to meet men.
How am I going to meet someone? Dude,
Roll around on the floor with boys.
you wrap your legs. You have each other's genitals in your face. I was
Yeah.
like, what better way
It's
to
like,
meet someone? I was like,
hi, nice to meet you. And suddenly you're inside somebody's armpit. Like it is.
and suddenly you're having sex. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like,
And it's that rear naked chokehold.
It's very close quarters, but it's been great for my anxiety to do, because you kind of need to just be very present with it, and you're learning. It's like human chess, right? Because it's like a action reaction kind of sport. So if someone tries to submit you or tries a particular move on you, and you have choices over how you want to counteract that, and it's whoever is the best at doing that wins. And to me, that's like tremendously satisfying for my brain to try and unpack that puzzle. But yeah, I love UFC. So I started watching UFC during the pandemic. For some people baked. I watched mixed martial arts. I found it so exciting and compelling, and for me, it's always about the human stories. So how people find the passion, the purpose, and the skill to be truly fearless, to step into a cage, have the door shut, and it's just you and one other person. Where does that happen in life? But gladiatorial sports have been around since humans have been human. Wrestling and boxing were part of the very first Olympics way back when. So martial arts have been part of human culture since humans have humaned. And for me, what does it take to be that fearless is a big question that I want to ask myself, and I want to ask other people as well. And so in that particular scenario, when I was given the opportunity to start doing some work in that space, like you bet I'm asking, these incredible athletes how they got to do what they do. And once you start to get to know people within the industry, the reasons for being and the reasons for getting to where they are sometimes truly heartbreaking and truly amazing.
And very moving.
And so for me, that's the part that I love the most, is I'm not there for the technical expertise. I'm starting to learn, and that's why I started jiu-jitsu. But for me, it's a hell of a spectator sport, and the numbers don't lie, because it's billions of dollars, and for a sport that, the UFC has been around for just over 30 years, and what they've built in that particular time is extraordinary. Yes, it is hard to watch, but when you start to understand the techniques of, all the different sports that it encompasses, from kickboxing to Muay Thai to jiu-jitsu to wrestling, you start seeing the shapes and the techniques and the strategy, and that's what I'm looking at.
Oh, they're incredible athletes. Absolutely incredible.
Some of the best athletes in the world in terms of cardio and strength and all of the rest of it.
Mental
and then it's
resilience.
also a show as well.
Yeah.
Like people
It's a spectacle.
It's a spectacle. It's one of the greatest shows on earth. And so for me to be a part of that is great. But it was a deliberate choice to go from just doing MasterChef to doing something like that, because I want people to understand, this is my line in the sand to say, don't underestimate me and what I can do.
I will choke hold you.
I'll rear naked choke you. Like I'll give that a go. But it's about, we should never underestimate each other in terms of the different facets that make you you. Like people will know you for 2 or 3 things. You're a million different things. We all are. And so to make sure that we always give people the benefit of a doubt that they are more than what they show, I think we I think that's a good way to see each other and navigate each other in life.
I agree. I think that the most beautiful thing that you are is a writer. And I enjoyed your book so much. I enjoyed how honest it was. And like you said before, it's definitely not just filled of dark stories. It's actually intertwined with so many different things where these stories come out from your life through different experiences. There's a bit of food in there. Like
there
it
are
was
essays
a really,
on food. Every
that's
chapter
it.
starts with an essay on food that's a metaphor for that chapter.
What's the dino nugget metaphor?
Well,
that didn't make it in, did it?
Like its life is what you make of it.
Yeah.
Like you can shape your world.
Yeah, I can't be made extinct, or can I?
I mean, like
it's about aging and women.
Like the metaphor for the Masterchef chapter is it starts with food poisoning. Do the maths. Like, there are layers there and it's fun, and it was a really fun thing to write. So, I've definitely gotten the bug now. I'm just like,
what can I do next?
There's a fiction idea in there.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I believe if you put it out there in the universe, then,
Hey, Life Uncut's the place to put it out.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Yeah, okay, so find me a husband.
Okay,
and
on it.
We'll talk about publishing fiction in 2020, 27.
We'll be here. You're wonderful. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. You are so articulate. You write so beautifully, and your stories are truly something that would relate to so many people. So thank you for being so generous with your time.
No, thank you for having me.